Welcome to Unsilent with your hosts Dave and Brian. This is not another current events podcast. We are digging deeper, diagnosing, and discussing what's really going on today, how we got here, and providing observations for future generations.
Welcome to Unsilent. We're Brian and Dave, and we'd love to hear where you think we got it right, where you think, well, we're completely off our rocker. You might find that today. Who knows? You can do that by leaving a comment on unsilentpodcast.com. Rumble has a comment section that is well-renowned, and all the various and sundry social media places where America comes to share our deepest and darkest thoughts. So, Brian, here we are, another week at war, and I just paid $5.32 up here in Washington State for my premium gas that I have to put in my silly car. So, there you go.
Well, speaking of Washington State, I mean, you guys passed your big income tax law, which
millionaire tax
absolutely is illegal in the state of Washington per the Constitution, but we don't pay attention to that kind of thing.
The Constitution, sponstitution, it's who cares, we got to soak the rich, eat the rich. That's, because after all, we don't have enough money to, run all of the various and sundry programs that the state wants to run. I wish, Brian, I wish I could run my life like that. I want all this new stuff, so I'm going to go out and demand all my clients triple the amount of money that they pay me, and and they have to do it. But sadly, it doesn't work that way in the real world.
Well, it seems to me that we had organizations in this country that operated that way.
Well, you mean like the mafia?
We called them the mob, yeah.
Yeah, well, they
would just extort dollars from people in exchange for not killing them or harming them, and I don't really see much of a difference in modality.
No. The only difference is that the mob in Olympia wears a suit and a tie, and Mr. Speaker, I have a point of order. That's basically the only difference, other than taking a machine gun and mowing them down. I don't know. Yeah, that's Washington State.
While we're speaking of Washington State, I'm gonna drop a reference that maybe three people in our entire audience might know who it is, but you remember Dory Monson?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So Dory Monson was very well known in the Seattle-Tacoma area, conservative commentator, had a daily radio show on Como, if I remember right, or something like that. But
great guy.
Every day from 12 to 4 or 10 to 2 or something. Anyhow, very well renowned, very well respected. He had a segment on. I haven't listened to his show in 20 years, and he died 6-7 years ago or something like that. Or maybe 5 years ago, but I would listen to his show once in a while, and he had a segment he called "Today's Sign: The End Is Near." You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Actually,
all right. Well, I was thinking about when I saw this headline. That's the first thing that popped in my head for whatever reason. I've not thought about Dory Monson. I mean, I moved away from Washington 5 years ago, so it's been a long time since I thought about him. But I saw this headline. It was literally the first thing that popped in my mind is this is a sign that the end is near. And I'm a little reluctant to get into to tell you what it is, but I think I have to. So I'm not trying to be gross. I'm not trying to be inappropriate, but in the midst of, we're on the brink of World War III, according to some, and we're on the brink of Civil War, according to some, and we're on the brink of financial collapse, and all gas is $800 a barrel, whatever it is. In the midst of all that, Sperm Racing has announced the 2026 Sperm Racing World Cup, where participants from 128 countries will compete for a $100,000 grand prize.
Okay.
I done a little. I asked Grok to do a little research for me, and this is 100% legit. It's not made up.
Okay.
And in fact, the headline is put out by Polymarket, which they're not in the business of just making things up. But
and
go ahead.
How does one train a sperm to race?
I don't know that you train. I didn't do that kind of due diligence, but it seems that they do measure speed.
And
I don't know what the training regiment is, but I do think it's interesting that it's kind of an example of how we are living in a world that on one hand, like we have these very dire, severe consequences and really heavy things we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, we find time for the goofiest things.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. Yeah, because I mean, who are the sperm racing trainers or contributors, shall we say? And does any kind of kinetic energy before they begin the race? Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do that research on your own. I've told you about as much about this as I want to know. So any further information you want, you're gonna have to go find on
All
your
right,
own.
I'll do that. It probably contributes to our rating.
In other news, I have a great surprise for you.
Oh, do tell.
Kim Jong-un won his election with 99.93% of the vote. So it was a close one.
It was a close one, and I'm sure that the concession speech by the now dead opponent was very gracious.
Concession speech was probably pretty short.
Probably pretty short. It was followed or preceded by an initial pop that kind of accentuated the win by old Kim Jong Un. Well, there you go.
there you go. All right. So in more serious things, do you know did you hear about Joe Kent resigning today? Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did. I did. And
I guess we're doing a Washington State centric show today because he ran for office in, I think the Camas or Portland.
Yeah, it's in the Vancouver area. I mean, I've interacted with the guy a little bit. I've had discussions with him, face to face discussions with him before he went back to DC, and I don't know the man well at all. I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but he seemed like a legit guy, seemed like a stand-up guy, and so he's very much of the opinion that the Iraq or Iran war is wrong, and is that Trump's been deceived, and so.
Well, the reason I bring it up is just for a little backstory for those who don't know quickly. Green Beret, he worked with the CIA doing field operations for the CIA. Like he's not speaking from the bleachers. He's the life that he's talking about.
Yes.
Ran for office in Washington State in the Vancouver area, it sounds like.
Yes.
Lost.
Yep.
And then Trump appointed him to the director of the Counterterrorism Center in DC.
Yep.
Trump appointed him.
Yep.
And he resigned today. And the reason I bring it up is it doesn't feel to me like we have two parties anymore. We always complain about the two-party system.
Yeah.
And it feels like we have 4 or 5 parties now. So the conservative side, MAGA can't even describe MAGA now. Trump, according to him, he is MAGA. So if you disagree with him, you're out. That was a statement he made yesterday, the day before, as you and I are recording this.
Yep.
So within the conservative party, you've got either we're just pro-Israel no matter what, or the other folks who are like, well, yeah, but I don't know that we need to be doing another Iraq or Afghanistan and following the same playbook here in Iran. And so there's division there. There's division over the Epstein files, I would say, is a pretty heavy division in there.
Yep.
There's division over the Doge thing that kind of came out like a flame and then just kind of petered out over the next 85 days or so. But it seems like the players in each side of those divisions are the same. The people who are not wanting to, I'm going to paraphrase here, I'm not speaking this as truth, but people who are not wanting to, I would say, like, blindly just do what Israel wants us to.
Sure.
The people who want Doge to do their thing, the people who want the Epstein files released are in kind of one camp, and then the people who want the opposite of that are in another camp. And when I say the opposite, I don't mean they're just not as fervent about the Epstein files. They're way more gung-ho about the Middle East stuff and wars and all that kind of thing. And, well, we can't do much about government spending like we've tried. We're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. And it's not urgent today. We got more pressing things, right?
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing in there that seems
Well,
to be like
and then there's the traditional, sort of Mitch McConnell Republicans too. So there's those folks out there too. So that's yet another sort of.
Do you have? Well, I'm gonna have a criteria here for this conversation. You have to be alive for us to consider you to be represented.
Weekend at Bernie's. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much. He's pretty much Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
All right. So then on the progressive side, they have their own divisions.
Mm-hmm.
They got the hard woke versus the more moderate. And then you have still independents. So we kind of have a 5-ish party system now where
probably so.
Nobody really has a overwhelming majority.
Yeah.
And it again, I've been listening to this podcast series on the history of the Roman Empire, where it covers 1,200 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And the commonalities are stark. When things start unraveling, these factions aren't productive. They can't get anything done. So I heard in the podcast I was listening to a couple of days ago, they were talking about in the Roman times, what they wanted was they wanted to have their Senate, and they wanted to have the consul. They had 2 consuls, like 2 presidents or whatever, and then they had the Senate and whatever. But what they really wanted was a moderator to be the checks and balances.
Sure.
Right. Now that ultimately how that manifested was you got Caesar, and then you got emperors and all that kind of stuff. All the things that they said they didn't want for 800 years.
Yeah.
But I thought it was kind of interesting that what they wanted was a moderator, like a supreme moderator who didn't have an official, couldn't make decisions, but could keep things in checks and balances in place. Sure. And the reason I thought that was timely for us today is there is no shortage of ways that our rights are being diminished, whether it be free speech rights or Fourth Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights. I mean, you go through the Bill of Rights and
that's right.
We don't, and again, to the constitutionality of the income tax in Washington State, these things are just thrown out the window as it relates to restraining the government.
Right.
At the same time, though, there was a book that came out a few years ago called 3 Felonies a Day, where they document how the average American commits 3 felonies a day. And if the federal government wants to get you, you're got.
That's
you're
right.
done. Right.
Yep.
What you think this is this is how the fourth turning works, or you think this is unique for us in this particular time?
No, I think it's how the fourth turning works. I think it's because it's because nothing works during the fourth turning. I think that's so. All the things. Well, first of all the things that used to work no longer work. So we used to be able to do. The simplest, most stark examples are. We built an interstate highway system across the entire country, in the 70 some odd years ago, and now building a train from Seattle to Tacoma, has cost overruns of 10 times, and in California they have, I think it's because nothing works during a fourth turning, and therefore, since nothing works, then the reaction to that is we got to be even more extreme, and we got to be even more intense on this narrow thing, on this specific. So this didn't work. Now we're going to focus on this. Well, we can't get this done. We can't restrain government spending. So, okay, well, forget that. We're not even going to try. Now we're going to go down and, well, maybe we can prevent Iran from getting a bomb, or maybe we can, stop abortion, and that doesn't work because Roe v. Wade was overturned and there's more abortions. So since nothing works, the intensity factionalizes us more and more and more and more. So I think that's just I think that's a feature of the fourth turning.
Yeah. It does seem particularly one-sided, though. At no point is any government official, whether elected or a bureaucrat, reining in government spending or control. The only rights being reined in are the citizens' rights.
Well, sure. Yeah, that's definitely true. Although I would say that nothing the government's doing works either.
Right.
So I would say it applies in the sense that nothing works in a positive way. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, to your point about the trains, for example, or highways, the number of bridges in our country is like 1,100 bridges that are not really supposed to be in place anymore. I'm not saying they're going to collapse tomorrow, but they're past their life expectancy or whatever it is. I don't know all the details, but it's like 1,100 or 1,400 bridges. I mean, and then I think I saw today, as you and I are recording today, the Senate passed the SAVE Act 51-48. This just makes it so that only citizens can vote.
Right.
A basic thing like that is weeks or months, and it scrapes by through the Senate and it's nowhere near out of the woods. It very likely will get killed somewhere along in the process. So basic things from bridges to voting, like nothing was working.
No, nothing works at all, and I don't think it's going to get any better, which is going to then make the more, extreme elements more extreme yet, and it then continues to go that way until the big thing blows up, and then we all forget about it.
And
work on the survival piece.
I don't necessarily agree or believe that Trump ran hoping to become a dictator. I don't.
No.
Maybe he did. I don't. But I don't.
No, I don't think so.
Based on what I know, I don't believe that. And at the same time, when they wrote the book, The Fourth Turning, and the other one, The Fourth Turning is Here,
right?
They talk about how, you look at Lincoln, you look at FDR, you look at Washington, they kind of became dictators.
Sure.
And so it seems like that when nothing is working, you need to have something that works. And a person just saying, I'm going to just step up and just start making a bunch of decisions, and here's my army of whatever that looks like. For the era, like it meant muskets in the Revolutionary War, and it would mean something different likely today. But with my army and my resources, I'm just going to get shit done.
Yeah. And that's again, I think where
people want it.
Well, yeah, and see, that's it. That's what I was about to say. People will turn to that because they see that nothing else is working. So if we can't get things done through the Senate, through the House, through the bureaucracy, through the the elected branches and the administrative branches of government, well, okay, fine. I give up. Just take over, get things done, and make it happen. Just get it done.
So. Follow with me here for a second. I'm going to try I get this like thought experiment. I'm like working through, and I really want to hear what you think about it. So if you think about like a company during the Revolutionary War time, like let's say you're an a farming company. You own a farm and you grow wheat and you cut wheat and you sell wheat and you maintain your equipment and you have employees that do things, and that's the business, right?
Right. I
would argue in that era, the most vital part of the company would be production. Like if you don't have the wheat, like nothing else matters.
Sure.
Right? If somebody came and stole all your wheat, you're out of business. If somebody came and stole your employees to harvest the wheat, you're out of business. Like the fulfillment or delivery or production, whatever for whatever kind of company, that would be the most powerful part of that company. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, if we look at a company today. Now let's take a sizable company, not your 6-7 employee company. Let's talk about a company that has, let's say, 500 employees.
Sure.
I would argue today the most powerful company would be the IT department.
Okay.
Because they could, if they didn't have good morals or ethics or whatever, they could do all kinds of things with your data. They could take customers' credit cards. They could out you for secret processes that make your secret sauce or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that? I think it would be more dangerous for a faction of a company to go rogue in IT today, just like it would be most dangerous back then if it was like the production folks. If they went on strike.
Well, that's true. Yeah. No, right? that is true. Sure, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. So far we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Now, if we think about like historically, how wars were fought were with troops and generals and muskets and swords and bows and that kind of thing, and that was the modality of warring. I'm starting to wonder if it wouldn't be if what conflict would look like now would not really be about. I mean, there'll always be that kind of armed skirmishes in parts of the world and things like that.
Sure.
But if you want to do amass real power today, I think it might be more advantageous to do it through technology than through troops and those kinds of resources.
Sure. Well, I think that's unquestionably true, because the greatest vulnerability of the United States, I think, is our power grid, specifically through IT infrastructure attacks. If people attack the infrastructure, you can bring down the whole. Or what happens if you take down the entire internet? Or what happens if you take down satellite communications? All the technology pieces. There's no doubt that would bring us crashing down. We can't run our planes, our tanks, anything.
Right. So if you had a 500 or 5,000 person company, the IT department, the information technology department going rogue would be the most catastrophic. Sure. I think.
Sure.
Right. More than your sales team, more than your fulfillment team, more than marketing, whatever. Right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Now the $64,000 question. If you parallel that with a government, which is essentially, it operates much like a company does.
Yeah, sure.
What is the IT department of the United States government?
Well, I mean, it's permeated throughout the entire government.
Could we make an argument that the CIA, and that is the intelligence?
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
The IT department of our government.
I see what you're saying. Sure. Yeah. Well, they have the most, but between the CIA and the internal, the domestic and the foreign intelligence services, they have the secret sauce of everything. Right. So there's no doubt. Yeah. I would say CIA and FBI, NSA, the whole thing. Yeah.
So in the company analogy, if you had that 500 person company and you knew that the IT department, if they went rogue, like the most damage possible could be done there, as the president or CEO of the company, you might say, we need to have some pretty good oversight on the IT department.
Oh, for sure.
But in our government, it's the one area we don't have oversight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's interesting because you like in the Joe Kent story earlier, Tulsi Gabbard is his boss, and she hasn't really said anything. And and that it is a black box. All of that, the intelligence services for all of us is very much a black box that we can't see into and we don't know anything about. So, yeah.
So as I was thinking through this, the reason I wanted you to make sure I wasn't going off in a weird area and make sure that everything makes logically makes sense so far.
Yeah.
Is because it's certainly possible. I'm not saying it's likely or plausible even, but it's certainly possible if rogue people there wanted to do great harm, they could. It's the most powerful element of the government, if we're using our corollary to a company, and has the least amount of oversight.
Yeah.
They literally tell presidents sometimes, you're not in the need to know on this, and we're not including you.
Right.
That's not a joke. That's a factual thing that's happened, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I had this thought, sequence over the weekend. I was like, I think it's more perilous than we even thought.
Well, yeah. Well, and we don't know. And the problem is we don't know because, like you say, there's very little oversight in terms. I mean, we're told what we're told, and that's all. And we don't know beyond that. I mean, who could name what's going on in any of the intelligence services, both domestic and foreign? And I mean, periodically we find out something where, oh my word, did you realize they had this tool? It's kind of vanished now that, or the stories have vanished about it now that basically mines every phone call, every phone record in the country. Wow. Well, when that came out, it was like, wow. I mean, is that really, and yeah, it was actually true. So how many more things like that are there that we don't even know about? That's one that we found out about.
The version I heard of that was it's some data center in, I think Colorado, might've been Nevada, but I think it was Colorado, or maybe Utah, somewhere in that area. And the claim was with that data center they were building, they could record every email, every phone call, every text message, every communication for every American for 500 years.
Yeah. Well, the technology is there now. I mean, there's just no doubt the technology is there, and you'd have to depend on the goodwill of the government not to do it.
Right. Which, as we just said, the only rights being taken away in the last 25 years are American, like starting with the Patriot Act. I would say that was like the first foot, like putting our foot on the accelerator of like removing citizens' rights, and it's been a cascade of things since then.
Right.
All right. I'm almost finished with my thought experiment here. Okay. So when we hear Mike Benz and those guys talk about the blob, it's big industry, Wall Street, big tech, big pharma, and intelligence services and all that kind of stuff. And what's the currency there? It seems to me the currency is information. Now, of course, everything links to dollars. But the dollars are the byproduct. The currency that they exchange upon is information. Right. So as I'm thinking through this, like, okay, we're all talking about these conflicts of various sorts, throughout the country or the world. Now, I understand Russia and Ukraine, like 1 million people have died. It's like some ludicrous number of people have died in that thing. I get that there's still going to be armed conflict, but when we talk about like this fourth turning, I wonder if it's not going to be a technological conflict, not a swords and guns and bazookas conflict. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's much more likely. I do. I think that's much more likely because one, our economy as the most powerful nation on earth. So, thought experiment 2.0, we're the most powerful nation on earth. We are an information economy. We're not an industrial powerhouse anymore. We're an information-based economy. We're a services-based economy, which by definition, a services-based economy is an information-based economy. So, if you add all of those things up, that makes us the biggest target via information attack, information warfare, IT warfare, etc. And it makes us the biggest purveyor of power in the world on that same. So yes, the chessboard, if you will, definitely I think aligns on the IT information, plane more than it does any other plane at all. Because even the kinetic plane is an information plane, because all of our F-35s are basically flying computers. They're flying AI systems.
So one of the things you and I talked about maybe a year ago was, okay, you have the way our country is demographically right now, or like how people vote, is you have these large population centers where they vote more progressive, surrounded by rural areas that vote more conservative. Like if you just look at the map, like it's you got Seattle, big blue dot, and a sea of red around it, other than like maybe Tacoma or Everett or something like that. Then you look at Denver, and then all of Colorado's like rural and farming and stuff like that, with this one big metro area.
Right.
And you and I were talking about like how would a conflict like that work? But I was thinking like, swords and muskets still. I was not, but in a technological age, it ain't that hard. You either turn off the power to Denver, or Denver turns off the power to everybody else in Colorado, and like, the IT wins, right?
Yeah. There's no doubt. I mean, because you're not limited by geography really in that situation. You're limited by who's got the memory, who's got the chips, who's got the bytes and the bits.
Yeah, and every location in our, I'll just stick with our country. Every location has its pitfall. Like in Arizona here, like you don't have AC in the summer. It's a pretty miserable summer. And if you don't have water, which we're taking off the Colorado River along with California, like it's game over.
Sure. Yeah. It'd be easy to shut down any of the places that we're at if you have the levers of the technological backbone. You can turn it off essentially.
Yeah. And you got Grand Coulee Dam that gives you guys like 75% of your power or something like that. Like it's all in one location. So anyhow, I was just thinking through that. I'm not sure if it's really relevant for anything, but I was just mostly wanted to hear your thoughts if I was being crazy or not.
No, I mean it's the age that we live in, and I don't think you can argue that that's not the case. Because you would have to, if you were to argue that wasn't the case, you would have to argue that there's something else that is more powerful and that is more prevalent than IT and technological infrastructure. And I don't think that you could do that, because I mean, even take a look at the stock market, the Mag 7, they're all, technological companies, right? I mean, everything is technology.
Yeah, I mean, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google,
Amazon,
Tesla, Amazon, they're all basically just information gathering companies. Meta, I mean,
and even the stuff that we get is based. I mean, so Amazon is a good example. Amazon is the biggest stuff provider on planet Earth, maybe Walmart, Amazon, but in both cases, they are not a stuff company. Stuff just happens to be the stuff that they bring to us. They are a logistics company. Amazon is a logistics company, an amazing logistics company. I love the fact that whatever I want, whatever my mind can conceive, it can show up on my doorstep here within 12 hours. I mean,
right.
But it's not about the stuff. The stuff has always been there. The fact of the matter is it's the information and the way that Amazon harnesses it that is near on miraculous that makes it happen. Now, what happens if you cut off the information and the stuff no longer arrives? Well, now you've got a revolt on your hands.
Or what happens if you take all that data you have so much of and start using it in nefarious ways against people whose politics you don't like?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that would be easy to do no matter how. I mean, I have, virtual private network. I've got all the different types of things to keep myself as safe as possible. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I mean, I don't want to say it that way, but because I recommend that people do this. But at the end of the day, if the big providers, want to profile you and demographically model you and say, this is what Brian Harding's about, this is what Dave Parkhurst's about, then boom, they got it done. It's done in a half a second.
Well, I'm going to start planting seeds that you're a contender for the sperm racing, and that's going to put you in a whole different list.
Hey, that would be great, Brian. I'm 62 years old, so I'm, bring it. I'm good.
I mean,
I'm good.
Something to talk about.
I'll sell some movies. I'll sell the movie rights.
So if the trend is the government is reducing our rights, but not its own rights, and is not even honoring the restrictions that we have in place now,
right?
Like, i.e., the Washington State Constitution, or I learned this a couple days ago. I didn't even know this was a thing. I was shocked when I heard this. Again, just to illustrate a point here, there's 36 states that have enacted laws requiring Americans to sign a pledge not to boycott Israel just to get government contracts, healthcare grants, or even hurricane relief.
Seriously?
And yeah, and I can list the states for you. This guy's like, no, that's a bunch of nonsense. What are the states? Well, actually, your state's not one of them, and mine is, which is kind of backwards, I would think. But there's Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado.
Now, is that related to BDS or is that related to?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of okay, so I'm familiar with BDS. Yeah, interesting.
I didn't know what BDS was.
Now,
Rock what BDS was.
Yeah, boycott, divest, and sanction. Now, typically BDS is the inverse of you can't contract with. Anyway, that's okay. Anyway, I can tell you
the way this is being framed, and again, I don't know if I didn't know it was a thing until 2 days ago.
Yeah,
was if you don't sign a pledge saying you will not support a boycott of Israel, for example,
right?
You're not eligible to even compete for the contract or get the relief, like hurricane relief or whatever it was. I
think that's an inverse of what BDS actually is. But anyway, I'm not sure. So send that to me. We'll look at it.
Yeah. I'll send you the link here.
Yeah.
So, you got free speech being attacked there again in your state. They're like, as we speak, that like this last weeks, they passed through this thing that is absolutely against the state constitution. No rational person could say the Constitution saying you can't have an income tax, and this isn't a tax on people who have over a certain income or wealth.
No, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, basically, the spin in Washington State is that your income is not your property.
Okay, you're right. So
that's the spin.
What I'm getting to is if the trend is less rights for us, and simultaneously the trend is IT is the information technologies is the most powerful entity out there.
Yeah.
What do we have for protection other than hope?
Yeah, I mean, well, the only thing we really don't. I mean, we've got hope and anonymity, and anonymity depends on not having big data centers. I mean, so if you extend that out, right, the as long as they can't process enough data to track 8 billion people, we're okay. But the big thing, the big, capex, as they call it in investment terms, is data centers across the planet. And now they want to put them in space because it's easy to keep a data center cool in space. Elon Musk wants to do that, which, I mean, technologically speaking, makes sense. But at the end of the day, if the data center push is the thing that is the ultimate attack on privacy and on our ability to not be controlled by Big Brother or big government or whatever.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, just like a fish in the ocean, we just got to swim in a big enough school of fish, so hopefully it's not us that gets got.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
right,
that
cool.
will be the case only until there are micronuclear power plants powering data centers everywhere around, in the middle of Wyoming, in the middle of Nevada, in the middle of the Grand Canyon down in your area. It'll when that happens, it's game over.
So when that happens, then we got to be the fish who hides under a rock, hoping the octopus doesn't find us.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. That's when you go full off grid.
All right, so the trend is we're heading to a situation where the factions don't work, and we're going to have an authoritarian, at least temporary authoritarian regime. I don't like to use that word, but like a la Abraham Lincoln, a la FDR, whatever.
Yeah,
and even FDR. It was FDR who had the internment camps.
Yes. Yep.
Very progressive guy. And you looked the wrong way, you're in a camp. That's the way it went, right?
Yep.
That is scary as hell to me. More so than more so than the war in Iran, I think, or whatever.
Oh yeah, it is, because you put the power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Put that in the hands of those that already, are worshiping their own power, aka government entities and bureaucrats, etc. And that's the most scary thing you can kind of put out there, other than an alien invasion from planet Zort. That's the worst.
I don't know that. I don't know that I would put the alien invasion as being worse.
Maybe not. Maybe the aliens will come and save us. Maybe
they'll be part of the Federation, and they'll come show us the wrongs of our ways, and we'll be saved by them.
Come on, aliens, we're here. We're ready. Yeah, we're ready. I'm ready.
All right, okay, but all kidding aside, so the factions aren't working. We're trending towards an authoritarian of some sort is going to have to sort everything out and get it back on track, assuming they have good intentions, right?
Yeah.
Assuming we don't get a Nero type, right?
Simultaneously,
Simultaneously, IT, information technologies, all that data, all that stuff is becoming the most powerful element of any entity, like a company or a government, much more so than troops and guns and swords and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
Now, so the only thing left then is, what is the morality or ethics or whatever of this person, and how would you assess that over the last 40 years? You think we're getting better, or you think we're getting worse on that front?
Well, no, I don't think we're getting better, because you don't find a Marcus Aurelius coming along very often. You find more Neros and more Caligulas than you do Marcus Aurelius, right? So I think that's very much the case. And here's the other thing. I just got finished reading. It's a fiction series by Orson Scott Card, who's one of my favorite authors in the world. It's called There's Empire and Hidden Empire. It's all about essentially how the United States gets taken over by a well-meaning kind of Marcus Aurelius type, using technology to reshape the world. But the problem is that at the end of all of that, Marcus Aurelius is usually followed by somebody evil. So even if you do get an Abraham Lincoln, or somebody that has a good intentions, well, first of all, they're not going to have fully good intentions, because they're human beings, and human beings are selfish. I mean, and second, even if they do a bunch of good, they're probably going to be followed by somebody who does bad. If you take a look even at the scriptures, and look at the entire history of the children of Israel in the scriptures, there was a good king followed by a bunch of bad kings. and the world crashed, and now there's a good king again, and there's a bunch of bad kings, and the king did evil in the sight of the Lord. So this is the human story. So and this is the story of the turnings, and this is also what I would say is the wisdom of the turnings, if you want to talk about it from a design perspective, that the crash happens for our benefit, because we come out of the crash, so far we have at least, and reset, and things start going well again, and so hopefully that will happen this time as well.
Yeah, well, in FDR's case, I mean, I'm not a historian, but my understanding is he served 4 terms. He died in his 4th term.
Yeah,
and pretty quickly, even though he was very well respected as helping like save the world, like literally save the world from in the Nazis and Japanese and whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly after he died, though, they're like, that 4-term thing, we're kind of done with that. They immediately put steps in place to prevent that a guy or a person getting too much power.
Sure.
So in our system, if we can maintain it, it feels like it's a short bridge of authoritarianism from one era that's functional to another era that's functional.
Yeah.
If we can maintain that. But like you're saying, if you go full authoritarian and now you have a king or an emperor or a czar or whatever Kim Jong-un's title is.
Right.
Once you deviate from our system and go to that, then it's just the luck of the draw what the king, how good the king's going to be.
Yeah, that's exactly. Fortunately, in our situation, we've had a durable, fundamental system, but the durability of the system is one generation away from being no longer durable, and you're just back to the way that humans have always lived under kings and lords and rulers.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, I didn't mean to take our half of our entire podcast to think that through, but it was certainly on my mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
putting all those pieces together and like the picture when you take the individual components and like sort them out individually, at least for me, and then put them together all at once, it doesn't paint a very rosy picture for how things might go. Again, like you and I've been talking for 2 years about, well, it could be this or it could be that is the trigger. But I had always thought of the conflict of being like, again, like troops and like National Guard versus the army or whatever. And it's not seeming like to me like that would be the wisest way to go. Not the most powerful way to go. The most powerful way to go would be use the data, use the information, and turn off the grid or whatever.
Turn off the grid in selective ways to get what you want.
Right. To compel a change of heart, you might say.
Yeah, exactly. Compel people to do the right thing, quote unquote.
Right. So, and going back to what you and I talked about a couple months ago, like compel people to see my view of fair as the right view of fair.
As the right definition. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
for sure. All right, well, what's on your mind this week?
Well, so
we spent a lot of time going through my goofy little experiment. What do you got?
Well, so the big question in the world today is what's going to happen at the Strait of Hormuz, and what's going to happen with world energy, and are we going to spiral out of control into a regional war with Iran attacking all of their neighbors, and with I guess what's on my mind is the complete inability to forecast and predict these things, to predict like the events that attacking Iran and them shutting down. I mean, it should have been predictable, and they say they knew this was going to happen, the shutting down of the Straits of Hormuz. But I don't get it, because it's like, but now you're asking Germany and Japan to come help with get the straits open again, and they're not really excited about that prospect. Because this could spiral out of control in so many different ways. You've got the hotels in Dubai and UAE, all the different Middle Eastern cities that are jewels of the desert getting attacked. You've got now Karg Island being essentially maybe not taken over, but attacked so that they know that we're on to. I mean, we know where their oil production, their oil shipping takes place. You've got China. We've got Trump canceling his meeting with Xi. This could spiral out in so many different ways. Like I said last week, it's got, 7 to 10. I mean, how long do we have before that it spirals completely out of control? I don't think we have much time left.
Yeah. I heard a theory. I've been baffled by this whole Iran thing. Like, okay, if we quote unquote obliterated their nuclear program in June last year,
right?
How could they also be a quote unquote imminent threat to the U.S. as of 3 weeks ago? And I've really been trying to figure that out. Right. I heard a guy propose a theory. I can't remember if it was John Kiriakou, the former CIA guy.
Okay.
Or it might have been, it was somebody like, I don't remember if it was him or not, but it was somebody who had like real world experience in these kind of things. His theory was that, and he, by the way, I'm going to find out who it was, so I'm better prepared next week. But his theory was, as he scripted out how this would go before we attacked them this most recent time, and maybe even before June of last year, but his theory was they have uranium that's 60% enriched.
Sure.
Right. And we knew that. Okay. But it wasn't, you can do some things with 60% uranium. It's not like the stuff we have that's like 93% enriched or whatever it is, but it's close enough to do damage, but they didn't have a delivery system.
Sure.
Right? They didn't have something big enough, a rocket big enough to do something of that size. Right. So his theory was the problem would be in the Iran situation is once we started, i.e. last June, the major problem would be locating the remaining uranium. And so it's like, okay, we bombed them. Some of the uranium got away. We have satellite images of trucks being loaded up the day before we bombed.
Sure.
Like cargo, like Penske truck kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Why would you have those trucks there the day before we bombed? They might have gotten wind that it was coming.
Yeah.
And we're moving it, and now it's gone. We don't know where it's at.
Yeah.
So it was in one isolated location, and now it's scattered. It might be in Russia, might be in China, some might be in Iraq, some might be who knows where.
Who knows?
Right?
Yeah.
So now the problem is we have this enriched uranium that, and by the way, every week they're enriching. They're not like, it's not like they stopped. So it might be 70% enriched now, or it might be 80% enriched now. Probably not, but it could be. But we don't know where the hell it's at. So how could you possibly get in there and locate it? Well, there's only one way. There's only one way to get in there and locate it, and that's with people with guns going door to door and
boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground, right?
Yeah.
So the imminent threat is we don't know where the uranium's at. That's the threat, not that they were going to launch a rocket at us. And it's like, well, actually, that kind of makes. I don't agree with the decisions that were made so much, but I at least understand the logic of it. Where before I was completely lost.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, the question is, was there reason to do it? Sure, there was reason to do it. You could also say that there was reason to do it because they're a powerhouse production facility of ballistic missiles. They could just kick out hundreds a week, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a week, and eventually, and this is what Rubio said. Eventually, they'll have so many that there's no way to stop them from completely terrorizing everybody. Maybe that's true. That probably is true. The uranium, I'm not a nuclear scientist, but you're at 60% enrichment. It's a short path, as I understand, to fully weapons grade, uranium. So it's not a long path. So there's a reason. There's a reason. So there's multiple different reasons. The question is, what is the response to those reasons the best way to contain and to prevent the bad thing you want to prevent from happening? And does your program to do that actually make things worse? And that's where I think the jury is still out on whether or not that's the case. And it will come down to, I guess, who was it I heard? Oh, I was Michael Knowles, who's one of the guys at Daily Wire. He's an Iran war skeptic. So I'm listening to him. I'm listening to different skeptics. I'm listening to both sides of the equation because that's what I do. One of the things he said was, look, I'm a skeptic, but if anybody could do it, it's Trump. If there's any in the
I
world,
agree with that.
pull this thing off,
agree with that
it's
part.
Trump. So, maybe there's an out here that actually ends up working. And I guess we don't know. We won't know until we know.
Yeah, I'm also looking at our policies, our foreign policies that make it so desirous for people to have a nuclear bomb, right? So
Sure.
look at Ukraine. Ukraine's a great example. They had nukes, and we promised their security if they gave them up. Like we literally
we signed it. Clinton signed it.
The treaty that said if you get rid of your nukes, we will protect you.
Yep.
And guess who's not being protected right now,
Right.
at least to the degree that they would like.
Yep.
And by the way, I'm not suggesting we send another $800 billion to them, because I think most of it ends up in the with coastal properties on the Mediterranean somewhere for the oligarchs. That's my theory on that. But who's a country we're not messing with? North Korea.
North Korea.
Why do we mess with North Korea? They
got nukes. Yep.
They can do what the hell they want, and we just stay out of their business.
Yeah.
So our foreign policy has created a situation where if you want to have autonomy from us, you have to have it.
Yeah, totally.
And that goes for Iran too. If you want to have autonomy from us in Israel,
completely,
you damn well better have that
completely.
thing.
Completely. Yeah, and that has been the failure of US foreign policy since World War II. I mean, the bottom line, since World War II. So
okay, hold on. We waited 4 whole years before we rigged our first election for another nation.
Well,
we didn't do it until 1949.
MacArthur in World War II, when World War II was over, he said, "Let me keep going. We got to take out the Soviet Union." Had we let Douglas MacArthur, now who knows whether he would have been successful or not, but had we let Douglas MacArthur say, "Okay, Hitler's gone, now we're going after Stalin," maybe we wouldn't have ended up in the situation. So the history of the United States has been one of punctuated strength, and by that I mean that we're strong for a little bit and then we wimp out. So if we would have, like, when there's been so many times when, now, that sounds like it's a hawkish way of viewing history. If we would have, decided to win Vietnam, if we had decided to win Korea, if we had decided to continue World War II and take out the Soviet Union, we probably could have done any one of those things. And we could have been, and it's easy for me to say as an armchair historian, we probably would have been, in my opinion, better off had we let the generals just go for it. Now, history would have, that would have, of course, opened up a whole nother can of worms, and, who knows what would have happened as a result of that. And then, two guys speaking Russian, 60 years afterwards would have said, "Oh, well, that was stupid to let MacArthur do what MacArthur wanted to do," and maybe they would have been right. Yeah. From where I sit, that's kind of how history is unfolded.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you that we're good. I mean, World War II and the Civil War and the Revolutionary War being the outliers, but every other thing, which, by the way, all during four turnings, right?
Yes. Yep.
But every other incursion we've dabbled in, it's more or less been a debacle.
Exactly.
I mean, I just can't think of very many. I guess you could say the War of 1812. I guess you could say the Mexican-American War, but we're going back.
The Barbary Pirates, we won.
We're going back pretty far. So certainly anything that we've dabbled in since World War One. And speaking of World War One, I know we're running late on time here, so I'll be quick with this. But I was thinking about the corollaries of World War One and World War Two through the lens of what if Iraq or 9/11 was like the Archduke getting shot. Mm-hmm. That led to World War One. Our version of World War One was Iraq and Afghanistan.
Sure.
We didn't really get anything resolved.
Yep.
Just like they did in World War One.
Yep.
Which led to World War Two.
Yep.
Is it possible that Iraq and Afghanistan were our version of World War One?
Yeah.
Nothing really got resolved, and the big ugly thing is still coming.
Yeah, I think that's likely. I mean, no, I don't think that's. I think that's likely. I think that's how it's going to ultimately be judged in the corollary of whatever podcasts are 70 years from now. That's what they're going to say it was.
Yeah, it's hard to not imagine that it's at least possible, if not likely.
I think it seems like it does seem like the likely pattern.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know if we solved anything this week or not, but I feel better.
Yeah, me too. We never
That's the most
anything.
important thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as Dave said in the beginning, if there's anything we said, especially, and we said a lot of goofy things, or I said a lot of goofy things this week, so there's plenty for you to critique on what I said. But there's anything we said that you think is especially right or wrong, we'd love to hear about it. You can give us your feedback at unsilentpodcast.com. We're trying to explain to future generations what it's like to live through this moment, as they will undoubtedly look back and wonder what the hell was wrong with those people. Or Rumble has a great comment section. You can chime in there too. Until next week, this is Dave and Brian signing off.
See you next week.
Do you want to be unsilent? Make your voice heard on our social media channels and share where you think we got it right or wrong. Go to unsilentpodcast.com for social links so you can join the discussion.